see Calmsden, I decided that first off I'd start with a tour of the farm that I already have on Calmsden. Let's get away from that music for a minute. This is Churchill Farm, hence the church, and the hills. It basically started off with just a small area and a few grass fields, pretty much on the basis of like a survival play, but not starting from complete scratch. Pointless having a farm called Churchill Farm if you're going to start with nothing. So I started with a simple little tractor, a tiny little yard here that was completely differently designed than it is now, and a couple of grass fields. That was pretty much it. The in and out was up through here, nice little dirt track. Up through here, access the green grasses here, and this was our main entrance slash exit. I say was because it's developed over time. There's my grass equipment up that end in the shed. We own quite a few fields now, including large ones. When we started off, it was just these couple. We also had sheds here at one point, and this was all cordoned off. There's just this little corner here. There are old tractors, etc., workshops. I love how these, with the place anywhere that you can now use, you're able to build your own little workshops by placing them inside sheds that fit your build. I always find that brilliant. So yeah, there's the silo. It is an American style silo, but it was kind of one that would fit in here. Since then we've opened this up and flattened out some land down here. Yeah, for some reason I couldn't flatten this bit out, so what I did is I've put some, as you can see, sort of like a gravelly dirt bit through the middle here to make it look like it's cracked. It's kind of the only thing I could do. I've placed the sheds with, again, place anywhere, so that I could sink the back into the hillsides, as you can see, giving it a bit of an illusion, and that's on both of these little ones. I think I've actually just bought, yeah, I was going to say I've got 2 combines in here. These are all, everything you see is second hand. There is nothing new when it comes to my machineries. This is about 8 years in, or 8 seasons if you like, 8 years. Yeah, 8 years in, and everything is second hand apart from one of these. I forget which one it was. These, I bought one new. I don't remember which one it is. But I bought one new a couple of nights ago, and I think within 2 months, in-game months, there was one available for real dirt cheap on the second-hand page. So yeah, we've got a little chicken one. That's from the Bavarian pack. It holds just the same as the largest in-game chicken hut, but it is a little bit smaller and it's a lot cheaper. It's 9 grand. So when you can get that many chickens for 9,000, and you can produce this much eggs at any one given time, you make a fair bit of money. So we're not going to be using any machinery today to go around for tours, because it's not overly big. Most money that's been made has been spent on land. As we all know, Calmsden, some of the fields can be rather expensive and pricey. So that is the farm there. We also own a part down here where we have built. That's in here. We built on this, deleted, built again, deleted. Lots of work been going on here. As you can see, the terraforming doesn't go very well on this particular area. But if you place something down and it bumps up the level, you can see what happens. You can paint over it then. It just doesn't look the greatest. That's the new mod that came in the mod hub a little while back. Pop grass in, get silage out. It's a production style mod. So I've got that, because obviously with a lot of grass I was taking a long time to turn to silage and doing all the bales, etc. This way it's actually nice, quick and easy, and I haven't got to worry about it too much, and I haven't got bales everywhere. This bit's all fairly new within the last sort of year. I used to turn this into an arable field that's now been turned into grass again, which then got turned into sheep. So I've got a couple of open sheep pastures. What we've done here is we've placed a hydrant. You get the right pack, the water's free. Place a hydrant, bring your trailer in, and you can fill up the trailer and the water trough at the same time. So you don't actually have to own a large water trough for that, which is brilliant. We'll come round and down. We do not own that field up there at all, but I did flip it last year, and as you can tell, Calmsden, some of the fields are a bit like where they were on Huntbelly, where you flip a field, it doesn't repopulate by the farmer sometimes. Bit of a mistake there. I might have to buy that back and just plant something in there so it looks alright. Greenhouses. As you can see, I think I started off with a little one in the tree line here. I've just grown them bigger. We own big long field up there. It was at one point, if I believe, I had oats in here, and then it's gone. I've changed it back to grassland just by putting meadow in it. Meadow grass works just as well. The same with the top. That was a wheat field. It's now just a meadow. This is grass cutting equipment. There's a little barn there. I know everyone likes to use certain equipment for certain points, but I just use a simple pallet fork to move these around. It works just as well. Now, for some reason, it wouldn't allow me to place a fence down this bit, or any sort of boundary, but it would allow me to drop these rocks. So I kind of made a fence out of rocks just to separate it. Here we have the honey production factory. It's a godsend. No honey pallets have been stuck once in the ground thanks to this. They spawn here, and once they're filled up, they fill up the factory. And then pretty much maybe twice a year it fills right up. You can sell it on. It's a good 50 grand. Sometimes more, depending on the time of year you sell it all. Probably get more if you actually took each individual crate and sold it, but again, you can use the in-game sale to sell that pretty fast. So that's pretty much Churchill Farm and Calmsden. If you've ever seen any of my picture videos, or clip videos if you like, on TikTok or Facebook, you'll see that it has grown from something very, very small. It takes a long time on Calmsden to get up to 1 million plus to buy some bigger fields. And what I do like about Calmsden is we get flowers. Not all maps you get given flowers, so you can make things a little bit more interesting. You know, simple little things like you stick an old tyre down, just blocks of flowers around it. But from a distance, it looks much better. Those sort of things, it helps hide some of the uglier parts, you know? Takes the eye away from some of the less attractive areas. An example, you've got here, if we come around here, you can see that it won't smooth here and it's all lumpy and bumpy. But you can turn that into grass and then throw some shrubbery and flowers there, and it completely will hide it. The only reason I don't is because I actually go down there with the baler and I turn it around and then pull through and drop it off. So this is the only reason I haven't done anything with that. We carry on going here. We come to the fields that I now own. So it took a while to get them. A few million quid. 22, 23, 21 and 20 I believe. I'm not going to run through them all, but yeah. We're going some bigger fields now. Not the biggest at all. It is what it is. The idea is to build and grow. So it's about eight in-game years, maybe a bit more. There's some small issues when it comes to calmsden and terraforming it. When you're near the roads, there seems to be a layer under the road, especially around here by the church, because it floods, and there is water underneath this in parts. If you have a dog, for example, on the farm and it's walking near the road, even in the middle of summer and it's dry like this, you will hear the dog splashing through water. So there is a layer under it. So when you come to terraform, you have to be careful, because what ends up happening is this. Just about to see the water flickering in there. And once it gets to that point, no matter what you try, as you can see, it's got a sharp edge there. It will not come back. It will not get back up to the top here. Just can't get it to do it. Yeah, originally the only reason I was doing this is I was trying to create a dirt, almost a passing bay, just to make it easier to swing in and out of the farm. It's one thing with calmsden is the roads are small and narrow. When you play a multiplayer style, it can get a little awkward. There's the farm from probably the highest point I can get for you, without flight mode. Some people ask about the house, or where do you stay? Am I still in the village? Because a load of people say you cannot delete the house in the village. You don't need to delete the house that's in the village that you start off with. What you're doing is you're deleting the sleep point, and then you can move that sleep point to wherever you want to, and replace it. Exactly what I've done here. So one that I use is here. So this here is now my house. So you can, in essence, sorry about this, packet of pins. There we go. So in essence, you could put your house anywhere, including a placeable house. You can place a house anywhere and add a sleep trigger to it, as long as you've deleted the one in the village. So yeah, I mean, there are some issues. There are a few floating trees about before, but I managed to cut some of them down, and trying to find it now. I'll probably never find it. That might be one of them. No, it's not. But anyway, I found a few. I managed to get a couple of them out. And then I also just, you sort of cover it with bushes. So you can't tell, which is probably why I can't find it now. You can't tell where the floating trees are, because the bush kind of hides the fact that it's a floating tree. Yeah, all this was landscaped by myself, because this originally was a green field. The actual forest on calmsden is through this hedge here, where I've thrown a few exploding trees, just to hide them. One of the issues, I hope that it gets fixed soon. And it's you know, for anyone who's new to any sort of landscaping or decorating, if you like, it's not as hard as you first think it is. You know, it's kind of a hit and miss. I do tend to say to people, load into a brand new map, or any map, cheat yourself some money in, whack some signs down if you're on console, get a few million, and then just play around with landscaping, raising, lowering, get used to that sort of thing. It's not always going to go perfect, even when you take it out of the practice and into your actual map that you're playing on. It's never always going to go to perfect, but as I say, it will look better than you think it would. For example, like this, it is literally grass on different painting bases. I mean, that's a forest base on Calmsden, and then this is just grass painted over a harvested field, pretty much. And you got some, I think it was granite I used for this bit, and dirt, and you just patch it out, make it patchy, and it'll look more realistic. And then you just, instead of covering everything in one type of thing, like I'm gonna want a bush, I'm gonna click that bush and just go with it. You want to go for 3 or 4 bushes and dot them about just randomly. That way it doesn't look all the same. And the same with the flowers. They're dotted around. So you go around, for example, with the orange flowers, and you just dot them about the whole hillside. Then you get the yellow and you dot them about. And if you want a few patches of yellow, you can. If you want a few patches of oranges, you can. But once you've done all your little patches and separate little bushes and that, and you look at it from a distance, you go, oh, it actually looks all right. And it's the same thing with trees. You don't all want just one type. Break it up, make it look interesting, and it'll work out, especially when it comes to landscaping. It's the same sort of thing when I made this drive. I didn't want to put a fence in because the fence is boring, but we've got these rocks now. So just alternate the different rocks you use, and also rotate them so they look different. And then obviously you can see I've just put flowers in the front here. But what I've also done is just dotted flowers in and around the rocks. And it's not necessarily to hide anything. It blends in. So they don't look... They look more realistic. I think that's the right way. So if I went this way round, it doesn't look right. Kind of looks like some of them are attached to the floor. They're not meant to look that way. But from here, they look right. And that's kind of the idea of them. Some people have had trouble with fences. Like here, they put their fence up, they put a gate, and then they're left with a gap about sort of this size. So twice, if not 3 times as big as the gaps on this fence. It's not a big issue when you think about it. It isn't. I know you can't use the place anywhere key. So for example, on Xbox that would be Y. You can't use that on a fence. But what you can on a fence and a gate. But what you can do if you've got that little gap between a hedge and a gate, or a fence and something like that. These trees here, these ones that I'm right in front, using a place anywhere, you can literally drop right in the gap, and then bang, the gap's now gone. It's still there, but you can't see it, and it looks like it's meant to be there. So yeah, you'll find little tricks of the trade over time that you can use to do that. I think that's it. So I'm gonna look up here. So yeah, as that is, you can see from distance there is nothing wrong with any of it. It's only the only thing you ever find is when you're up real close and personal, is when you'll spot things like this. Here's a big old gap. There's a big old gap there. I should really put a tree in there, but I didn't. And again, you can see where this here is the natural road that came with Calmsden, and you want to create a bit of road that's slightly different. So, for example, this here, this isn't Calmsden Road. This is a painted-on road, but there's not much difference. Get on this. There's not much difference between that And that, you can blend it. I think this is about 3 different paints. You've got a slight bit of dirt just dotted into it. You've got a type of one of the types of gravel, and then this is I'm pretty sure this is riverbed. This stuff is riverbed, and you just kind of blend it in. So on first glance, it looks normal. The only thing you can't do is put this little bit of grass in. If you try and put a little bit of grass in, it does not look the same at all. Oxygen David used a specific type of grass, a custom version, so it doesn't match any grass that you can possibly mix in. So don't try. It looks off. I've tried it. It does not look right at all. But yeah, like this, it's absolutely fine. And it is just about a case of blending stuff in, taking your time, and seeing what works for you. Not everything will, but don't worry about that. You will get the hang of it. It takes time. No one's perfect. I muck up all the time, even after practicing. Here's my current machine list in here. I don't think anything's really too old anymore. I mean, they're all second hand, but I don't think anything's old. I've replaced mostly everything that I started with. I started with a Zeta. That's obviously now gone. Kind of regret that, because I love that Zeta. It'd just be nice to have kept it, but I couldn't justify having it around at the time. This is probably the oldest tractor I have still running, and it doesn't get used a lot at all. I bought this, I think, in my 3rd year, new at the time, and then literally barely used it because I was still small scale at the time. And then once I had sold everything that I had in the silo, I made a load of money from honey and did all my greenhouse stuff, which I actually delivered rather than sold in game that particular time. I bought a couple of big fields and bought, I think it was this one. I bought this one off the second-hand market, and that literally became my sole and primary tractor for the next couple of years. And then obviously I added other tractors, as you can tell. That trailer has been my day one trailer, pretty much. Started off at 1 tier, went up to 2 tiers, went up to 3 tiers. It's actually going back down to 1 tier shortly, because that was basically going to be retired to do feed for the chickens, pretty much. But that's the tour of my calmsden. At some point later on today, hopefully, maybe even tonight, we will do a start from scratch on calmsden, and I plan on using the placeable area towards hang on, get off that, or get off here, this big placeable area. I'm going to probably use this here and build a little farm in the corner of it somewhere. We'll see. That's the idea for now. I mean, again, we could change and go for the placeable area at the top. I try to avoid using the in-game farm that you would get on a new farmer mode, mostly because I prefer to build a farm out, you know, in the kind of style of survival roleplay, without the starting from 50 quid, because unlike PC, on console there is a very, very big problem with trees. I don't think I've had a single map where I've tried cutting a tree down and I haven't had one do that weird explosion looking thing, then spend the next hour trimming it and trying to get it so that I can get rid of it. In the end, I end up trying to hide them. I think on my Hot Belly On map that I did, I had about 20 trees, so I just threw them in the river. Just cut them into pieces and just started rolling them down into the river. But yeah, it is what it is. Hopefully the patches will eventually get that bit done, because I'd love to go on Chainsaw Valley and give that a crack. The only reason I avoid logging completely at the minute is just because it's too much of a headache with the exploding trees. But there is so much depth to the game. You could spend years picking different niches to do. You know, especially with all the productions. You got grapes, you've got olives. I mean, yes, you can be a multi farmer, but I mean, if you wanted to go down the niche route and pick an individual niche, if you want to be a cake baker, if you wanted to be just a bread baker, that's two niches already, and that's only one production. Then you've got things like the tailors, the cloth, the wool or the cotton. You've got two types. What one would you go for? Would you do one time? Would you do another time? And so yeah, it's endless, and it's obviously they're going to add more throughout the coming year. You've got DLCs, etc. that they will be bringing. They'll eventually bring out some other stuff. There's a lot of things that can be done. For example, a baker. They could add croissants, which I'm surprised they didn't do, considering they had a French map. I thought that would have been a bit of an obvious one, but you know, they went down the cheese route. I would have gone down with croissants as well. You got buns with raisins that can be added. Simple little things. That's just the bakery. So yeah, keep your eyes out for other mods, and we'll hopefully see you later on. That's all from Matty G. Thanks. Bye.